we have now going to have a couple of sessions where we actually do kind of sum up really what the spirit of Evora is. And we're going to first, however, look at the workshop and the resolutions that have come out of the time we've spent here and the announcement of 5 urgent acts. That's the commitment that we're making here. So, a man you've hardly seen at all on stage is going to be here, Christian Delom, and Bruno Despujol as well from Oliver Wyman.
So, Bruno, we are going to reveal the great time that we have listened, we have worked, we have gathered a lot of figures, we have think a lot with the help of Oliver Wyman, and at the end, I think we have made some 5 propositions that make sense. So, first of all, I want to let Bruno explain why these propositions are so urgent and there are good reasons for that.
Thank you, Christian. So, thank you, because we over these 2 days, it has been an amazing time of sharing conviction, sharing ideas, and showing the path for the future of travel and tourism. And what we humbly try to do is try to summarize it, try to think about it, and propose some very concrete action. But first, what we wanted to share with you is maybe a bit of a wake-up call where we stand in terms of sustainability, because there is a lot of debate, but it's going so far that sometimes it's hard to understand what's going on. So just as a recall, the planet is burning, and we have probably no other choice than act. Why? Because all the commitments you see here lead us to a 2.7, 3.1 increase of temperature, which is totally not acceptable. And so the only choice we have is to reduce it to the 1.5, as you know, which is called the net zero. A net zero by 2050, meaning that by 2030, it will be probably reducing by half already the emissions of carbon. So this is urgent. That means that we need to act now to change it. And tourism and travel is a big part of it. 8% of the global emission is travel and tourism. So we cannot say we are not responsible for it. And we're going to see that we are pretty late. So it's urgent to act. Another statement which is very important for us and sometimes difficult to explain is the fact that there is no one solution. It's a combination of solutions. So do not debate on compensation is better or worse than other solution. Everything is needed to get to this super hard objective of 1.5. And you see that this is IEA estimates. So you see it's going to be behavior change, it's going to be energy efficiency, renewable fuel switch, but also carbon reduction and removal at 23%. So everything is needed to win. There are some good news, honestly. We have been with Oliver Wyman following this great challenge over the last 10 years. And I have to admit that since the COVID crisis, maybe one few positive things is that has been a revelator of what could be a global crisis. And things have been accelerated, and we see 5 accelerator or catalyzer of change. First, for the first time, we have national commitment for 70% of CO2 emission by 72 countries for the net zero, which is totally new compared to the COP21 of the Paris Agreement. 2, there is a strong acceleration from volunteering of the corporates. And we took the example of 50% of the top 500 companies that now have internal carbon price, which is one of the principal means to really change it internally and externally. 3, let's say international sector engagement is a bit slow, but has moved, and we can be proud that one of the two main ones is Corsia, so the travel airline industry, and we hope that it will be concluded for the COP26. Probably one of the most important is the move of the finance services industry. We are working right now with probably most of the most important banks in the world. They all are building their net zero strategy. That means that it's going to be a great change. They will have to change probably 30% of their portfolio, and they will be even more demanding in your next investment. So don't expect you have time to change to sustainable investment, because the finance will be a strong catalyst of change. And hopefully, there are funding also, especially in some, let's say, Western countries. We begin to finance a sustainable project much more than before. So this is the example. I won't come back, but what is important is when we look at 2050, it's pretty far. So what is really important is the figures on the right. Europe that has the objective to reduce 50%, 55% by 2030, and some countries that really are try to be even more positive about these objectives. This is not the end, this is just the beginning. And there are many initiatives right now to continue to change and to continue to accelerate. I won't cover all what is in this page, but one very important one most probably will be the carbon border adjustment, so carbon tax at the border of Europe, which is a game changer for us. It will enable to cover from 50% of carbon emission in Europe to 94%, because the gap is importation. And so if we want to cover 100 or nearly 100%, we need to have this carbon border adjustment mechanism, and that will lead a lot of things around the world. Chinese have built their market, carbon market, most probably due to this, the fact that in 2026 we will have this mechanism. But also credit are improving in terms of quality, they're becoming international. So there is a lot of things moving on, pretty complex to understand, but still it's positive. When we look at the companies, the best in class show the way. There are more performance in terms of stock price, not the only objective. Consumers are following. The employee find this very appealing to share this. So there is clear advantage to be in the best in class, in a very proactive in terms of sustainability. Now, unfortunately, two bad news. When we look at the travel and tourism industry, we are late. We are very late. You take airlines, you take hospitality, so this is intensity of emission versus momentum, meaning how much you have each sectors has decreased carbon emission, and we are lagging behind. If we take internal carbon price, pretty much the same, unfortunately. So a lot of companies now have some carbon price, but if your carbon price is very low, doesn't bring any change inside your company. So you need to increase the price. You know that, for example, in Europe now the carbon price is around 50, which is good. Economists said that between 40 to 80, it's already something that begins to change. Here we are at 16 in the hospitality, 20 in transportation services. So we are not you are not there yet, sorry. And you see that there is a lot of spread around each sectors, and some companies are very, very aggressive to really push the change fast. So that was a quick summary. It's a complex topics, but we wanted to put these few figures that explain why we want to act.
Okay, now we can move on the 5 action act. You have understood that the climate issues is inside one of the first issue we want to solve first. We are late, too late. And if we are not moving forward all together, we won't make it forever. So the first action act is not a surprise. You can display it. The first action act is related to any of these sustainability shifts combined with the forum discussions. We have go through responsible and sustainable tourism. We have spoken about the issue about the business travel reset and about the hopefully business travel reset. We had some concern about it, of course. The experience revolution. All of you have spoken about the experience economy, the experience of the customer, of the tourist. The problem to deal with over-tourism, it's a pity to speak about over-tourism now because we know that we want them to come back. But anyway, we know that as soon as they can, they will stress some spot of the planet that it's not the good way to do that. Of course, the carbon reduction, this is key, and the compensation if we cannot deal first with the carbon reduction, of course. So, we have listened to any of the industry calls for action to take concrete actions towards progress. We have identified and focused on the 5 hacks which are the most pressing issues identified here in Evora. We commit to making a difference, that's updating or implementing our plans to align to our acts. And we report our progress against interim and long-term targets, as well as action being taken. So it's a bridge between action being taken and what we have to do. And of course, to act as ambassadors for sustainable tourism, all of us, and of course, we are committed inside with the organization of World for Travel. So everyone acts for a real change altogether in sustainable travel and tourism. That's a purpose. The first one, the first act, is not a surprise. I balance, and we balance to propose this act, because we know that it's not the ultimate one, but we have to do so. We saw that very low part of the airlines, of the tourism, of the hospitality companies propose a reliable carbon compensation option or incentives. And we know, as we haven't made the job, and we must, and this is unavoidable, go on proposing for any of the stakeholders, destination included. So this target. The second one, of course, is more related to the COP26. We call it commit to a carbon reduction plan for every sector, but we know that the COP26, they call it the zero carbon target. So the zero carbon target is for 2050. But now we can, as Confucius say, we have to take the path right now. The problem is not the target, it's to take the path. So we are committed, we want all our partners to commit to a carbon reduction plan for every sector. The third action act is to prioritize investments to develop sustainable tourism. And I'm afraid that right now, because of the pandemic, we are certainly wanted to recover. And to recover, we ought to devote some invest. But if we devote some invest to recover and then not taking into consideration the transformation, we are going to pay twice. And we recommend that the recovery includes the development of sustainable tourism and of the transformation, and of course the invest that are related to them. The fourth commitment, the fourth action act, you have all of us spoken of that. You have all of us mentioned that we have to be very inclusive with the communities. So invite communities to co-design tourism solutions, not only to participate, not only to be employee in that, no, to co-design. It means that we have the ability for the big companies as well for the governments or either for the other sectors to include deeply when we design solution what the communities can bring. And at last, of course, it's related to the force to accelerate and strengthen local supply chains and ecosystems. You mean that every time we can choose a local supplier, we have to do it, even if it's more expensive. And that's a problem, even if it's more expensive. Somebody have mentioned that, well, the industry sometimes bring the tourists and the supply in the same plane. Well, it's not feasible anymore. Now, I want Bruno to give some insight about the five action acts, just to explain or to give you some explanation of what is going on, what they are related to the Evora Forum and to the insights given by the white papers and your survey.
Thank you. Yeah, so quickly, we wanted to share where and why we ended with these acts. There are two reasons. First, we have been listening to you. We have been reading all the position paper you have been writing. We talk not only about the professional, but also the governance. So there are all the stakeholders that are part of this ecosystem. If we take the first one, as we said, is not the most important one, if I may put it that way, but the one that we can target right now. And this is probably a quick win, easy to get, and we have to begin somewhere. You take a few figures. Only 10% of airlines offer voluntary carbon offset to passenger. And when you ask the traveler, 63% of them have never been offered a carbon offset scheme, and 36% will agree to pay to offset their carbon footprints. So we have to act. This is one idea. There are others, obviously. You can think about incentive. You can think about scoring of hotels that are more or less sustainable. You can use comparators, explaining to be educational toward the traveler. We are deep feeling that if we are education, if sustainability is a mandatory step in the purchasing process of travelers, it will become a reflex. And this is there are a lot of things that can be done now without waiting 2030, 2050, and that's why we put it first, because this is the most accessible one right now. Obviously, the big topic is carbon reduction. So before we get to the net zero, we know there is a lot of work to do, and a lot is beyond the travel and tourism industry. But still, what we have seen is the growth of carbon emission has increased by 60% and only minus 4 to 5%. That was the graph we previously showed. So that we need to act. A lot of companies in many sectors are already building their carbon reduction or net zero strategy, issuing them. They are being scored by international certification organisms. So the process is get organized as the travel industry, even if this is very fragmented, even if there are a lot of SMEs in this business, we need to act too and build this plan as other industries. 3, investment. So as we said, we have different stakeholders, and financial services will be key in the success. We said it could be a catalyzer, and we are deeply convinced that it can help the business to transform itself. First, I would say, and I think that was a great discussion yesterday, a lot of countries don't invest enough in tourism. They think it's a given, especially, let's say, in Europe. We see a lot of new countries that invest much more than the old destination, if I may put it that way. So first, invest more, and don't consider that tourism will stay as it is, and we need to transform ourselves. But more importantly, you have to consider that in few years it will be more and more difficult to invest without a true sustainable plan. This is a study we did with CDP. Probably you know this organization. All the bank or the financial services now look at your net zero strategy, your SEG strategy when they consider investment. This is Europe. This is right now. So you see this is pretty impressive, 50% already, and that accelerates very fast. So we need to act now because it will be compulsory probably in a few years. For community, we talk a lot about it. Very important. I think the example that was shared by the previous group with Evaneo and Eric was especially enlightening, I think. So you can act very soon, giving scoring to your partners, incentive to your partners, to be sure that you have the local community be co-designing for tourism solution, and participating to the local sourcing, to the training, to the gender balance in all projects. There are so many great initiatives right now, and we need to push them and show them to the world. So that was a quick summary of, let's say, the rationale behind all this act, and very happy to deep dive if you wish.
And so what for Travel Forum can do for that to make it possible, to make it a reality? We cannot do at your place, of course, it's infeasible. But what we can do is to increase messaging, to facilitate partnerships, and with all our partners, all of you were there, we are going to work together more and more. Share information, studies, data, just like we did. The study provided by Oliver Wyman is an evidence of it. It's to advocate for thought leadership, and we can advocate, and we want to advocate in other events, with other organizations, with, of course, other countries, including Portugal, naturally, and find a way to measure our progress. Because from now to next year, we commit in finding a way to measure. And next year, to provide some of these measurement possibility facilities. And this is what the commitment, because if we ask you to commit, we have to commit. And of course, to adopt the 5 commitments for ourselves, of course. And we have candidates to approve these 5 commitments, your whole. And we have already one who have said yes, our partner, the Resilience Council, that have said yes, I want to commit on these 5 commitments. And so we are going to go back to you and say, how are you able to commit yourself in these 5 commitments? If you're able, then we can move forward with you. So that's not the end of our work. We're just starting. It's a very, very, very starting point of a long, I hope, a long, but a very efficient path that we're going to do all together. So thank you for attending, because you're amazing. We are just here. It's 4:30, and you are all also, you remain there, and we know that we have a lot of people watching through the streaming. I was thank them also, and of course, I think we have created a post-Evora. There is a before Evora, and there should be an after Evora. Thank you all.